Hello and welcome to Palindrome ASMR. So today, I quit my job. I was working a job at a Super One, pushing carts, and I absolutely hated it. I hated it. And so I finally got up the courage to just up and quit because, well, for some reason I just don't work very well. I can't. There's something preventing me from really enjoying work of any kind. Maybe, well, of course, I am aware of the fact that work is work, and you're not supposed to enjoy work in most cases. But what I'm talking about is when I work, it is some jobs, when I work them, they are so agonizingly slow. Every minute passes with the grace of an elephant, and I find myself just counting down the hours, and it's really difficult to stay motivated when time passes so slowly. Time passes so quickly elsewhere. Why does it have to pass so slowly when I'm working, and especially if I'm doing a boring job? My job at Super One was pushing carts, and it was boring, and it was strenuous, and it was annoying too, because the carts would constantly get away from me, and if I wasn't careful, I'd hit a car, and it's just, I just, I don't know. And my parents didn't like it. They didn't like the fact that I quit my job. They were very adamant that I get another job before I quit the Super One job, but I didn't do that. And it, I don't know. I'm not acting like myself in this case. I just couldn't do it anymore. I just couldn't handle it. I just couldn't hack it any longer. I had had enough. I've been thinking about quitting for several months, and I finally went and did it. And I'm wondering whether or not I should talk about the next subject, because that would be gossiping, but if I don't say their name and I don't indicate who it was And if I leave out all the details, I think it'll be okay. I don't feel good about telling this story though, because it would be, well, I'll tell it anyways. It was a very interesting story of how my reason overtook my instinct. So there's this girl, she's really quite attractive, and I kind of had a crush on her, and I hadn't talked to her before, and so she was sitting on a bench waiting for class, and I decided, hey, I'm gonna go talk to her. So I do. I go and I sit down next to her and I say, hey, how are you? My name is Zeppy, what's yours? And of course they always say, hey, that's a weird name, where'd you get it? Blah, blah, blah. I've heard that a million times, but we get into talking, and eventually we start chatting before class every now and then. And about a couple days later, I learn that she's not exactly the nicest girl. That she's quite the... I mean, she was 21 or something along those lines, and she had already been married and divorced. And she had a certain boyfriend whom she had gotten together with and broken up with a dozen times over the past 7 years. And I thought, holy cow, this girl is not someone I want to get involved with. And so even though I found her to be attractive, I thought, ooh, I'm just going to keep this on the casual friends, acquaintances really level. And I thought, that's kind of interesting how my reason, my danger signal, like, it flagged, and I thought, I'm going to ignore my instinct, which is to find that girl attractive and have a crush on her. And instead I'm just going to say, oh, no thanks. But the reason why I find that to be weird is because I wasn't like that before. I don't think anyone is like that in their teenage years. And I just thought it was interesting that my mind would work that way. I think it's a sign of my, what was it? The part of my brain that develops when I become 18 and doesn't stop developing until 25. The frontal lobe, the thing that teenagers don't have, but that adults do have. The portion of the brain that doesn't stop developing until you're 25. That controls inhibition and higher emotional responses. And I just found it interesting that this is one of the newer symptoms of the feeling that I get as I'm getting older, that I have more control over my emotions and what I say and what I do, and I have more self-sight. I can see myself better. I'm not always able to express it, but in the right circumstances, I can take myself apart and understand exactly what it is that drives me. Which is why I am a little bit confused as to why I decided to quit my Super One job, why didn't I just hack it out and go with the flow and work honestly pretty tame hours, only like twice a week for 4-hour shifts? Well, I pulled some longer shifts this week, which is why I just decided to quit, and I just said find someone else to cover those shifts. I'm not doing those anymore. Because the last time I had 2 8-hour shifts in a row, I was burned out like no tomorrow. Just I was very burned out, and I did not like the feeling, and it felt like an eternity, like my entire existence was just centered around that one job and that one thing, pushing carts. And I just didn't like that feeling. The feeling that all of my being was pushing those carts. And that's all I was doing, and all I will ever do. And this isn't like a career melancholy thing. This is a very in the moment sort of well, it's one of the downsides of being a very in the moment person. But my parents they didn't stop me, and they didn't disown me or anything, but they were disappointed in me, and they made it clear that they were disappointed, and they expect me to find another job as soon as possible, which I will do as soon as possible. I'm hoping that my ghostwriting job, I ghostwrite romance novels, and I'm hoping that job will pull through. It's been a little bit troublesome lately, and I haven't gotten paid for a while, but they're having trouble, and I am giving them the benefit of the doubt. I don't know why I'm talking about these things that bother me, but I think I like when people talk about personal things on YouTube. I think I like it because it connects me with that person. I become friends with this person. I get to know this person. And I feel like I have another friend when I don't really have any friends at all, actually. I have no friends I have no friends. I'm not saying this as a hyperbole. I literally do not have a single person that I talk to more than once a week outside of my immediate family. There's not a single person I talk to more than once every 2 weeks, maybe even, outside of my immediate family. Including texting. No texting, no Facebooking. I do not communicate in any way with a person more. I can spend entire days without communicating with anyone who is not a teacher, a classmate during a group discussion, or my immediate family. And I can spend entire weeks like that. Now, that is partly due to my extreme introvertedness, and that is also partly due to my mental disorder, which one of the negative symptoms of schizophrenia is a withdrawal from society. And that is exactly what is happening to me. What my medication does is it stops the positive symptoms, the psychosis, the delusions, the crazy stories that happen inside of my head. That's what my medication stops. What it doesn't stop are the negative symptoms, the lack of motivation, the lack of social interactability. And while I am very conscious of these things, it's like I have a sickness, and no matter how much I try, I mean, when you catch the flu, no matter how much you try, you're not going to cure yourself until you get over it. When you have cancer, no matter how much you will yourself to get better, you're not going to get better unless you believe some rather shady stories of cancer patients willing themselves to get better, but I don't happen to believe in those. Well, maybe I do, maybe I don't, but we're getting off track here. And it's just, I don't like people. People don't really like me. Well, no, let's rephrase that. People feel uncomfortable around me because I am such an intense person. I answer every question without really trying. I answer every question with as much effort as I can. And so when someone and I'm always providing information and explaining things, and there's this aura about me that puts people off because I always seem to know about things. When we're talking about a subject, I always have more than my share to say about that subject. And because of that, I'm not very good in groups, and people feel uncomfortable around me because my ideas are big ideas, and I communicate them bigly. My thoughts are, this sounds very egotistical. I know this sounds like I have the most inflated ego you will ever see, and while I'm not exactly going to deny that, no, I'm going to deny it. I don't like, as you can tell, I'm having trouble expressing this without sounding like an egotistical maniac, but okay. Imagine this. Imagine you have an IQ of 100, an average IQ 100. I bet you people who watch this video, maybe, it'll be distributed a little bit more on the smart side. But let's say you have an average IQ 100 and everyone around you, the vast majority of people around you, more than 50% of the people around you, have an IQ of 60 or below. Imagine how difficult it would be to interact in social situations. Now, my IQ is 146. And the difference between 146 and 100 is the difference between 100 and 56. 56 is so mentally handicapped that these people can barely function in society. I know, and while there are plenty of smart people who can interact well with other people, I just don't have the social talent to cover up the difference between, oh my God. I'm just going to apologize right now for sounding like a total, I don't like talking about this because I realize how uncomfortable and how it makes other people feel when I make a point about, whenever I see someone more intelligent than me referencing their own intelligence in contrast to the intelligence of me or the intelligence of people like me, I do not feel good. And so I am apologizing right now for making anyone who's watching this video not feel good, because this is supposed to be a feel good show. This is supposed to make you feel good and not supposed to make you feel inferior. I do not want to make anyone feel inferior. If anything, I want to make it clear that I am in some ways inferior. That's my point. I'm spinning this as not as a personality plus, but as a minus. This is not something that, well, it's something I'm proud of, but it's also something that bothers me and that makes my quality of life less. Is this not just intelligence? And while it is intelligence in some respect, it is more than that the way I wield my intelligence in conversation that, well, let's put it this way. You've been listening to me for 20 minutes expound on topics that I have no real interest in. I'm just talking. And you've heard me speak. This is how I interact with other people. This is my communication style. I always think really hard about everything I say. And that scares people. When you're in a conversation with someone who is thinking very hard about everything they say and who is analyzing everything you say, it just makes conversation difficult. And that's the point I want to make. God, I feel like a total loser just saying, oh, I'm so much smarter than everyone. Oh, I'm so smart that talking with people is a bore, is a drag. Oh. But I guess that's it. I'm just going to leave it there. I hope you enjoyed this, the Lignum Vitae mallet. It has a nice clicky tone, which I just can't get enough of. I realize that this is supposed to be a feel-good show, and recently I've been talking about very serious topics and talking very seriously about those topics. But maybe I'll get back to the lighter stuff in another video. So thank you for watching. If you've watched this far and have listened to me make a egotistical fool of myself, then you are amazing as always. As always, you're amazing. Thank you for watching. I can't begin to tell how special it makes me feel to know that people are interacting with me through the ether. And this is like my replacement for friends. Instead of friends, I have YouTube. Isn't that great? Doesn't that just make your heart warm inside? So, if you have any requests, any ideas for things you want me to talk about, or if you have any questions that you want me to try to answer, it doesn't have to be about me. They can be questions about anything that you want me to try to address on this show. Then put them in the comments below. And from now on, I'll be saying this at the end of every video. If you have any questions or comments that you want me to address, if you want me to shout you out, just say, hey, shout me out. Of course, I'll shout out whoever asks whichever questions. I'll say your name and such. So, thank you for watching, and do have a nice day. And I apologize. I don't know what to do about myself. I don't know what to do with myself. There are so many layers of analysis going into what I say about this kind of thing. I censor myself, and then I censor the censoring, and then I caveat, and then I addendum the caveat, and then I halt the addendum midway because I am going to modify it, and then, God, that's just how I talk. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope I made you feel comfortable and at home again, thank you for watching, and I will catch you on the other side.